أرسلنا موسى إلى فرعون وملئه فظلموا بها فانظروا كيف كان عاقبة المفسدين. وقال موسى يا فرعون إني رسول من رب العالمين حقيق على أقول على الله إلا الحق قد جئتكم ببينة من ربكم فأرسل معي بني إسرائيل. قال إن كنت جئت بآية فأت بها إن كنت من الصادقين. فألقى عصاه فإذا هي ثعبان مبين ونزع يده فإذا هي بيضاء للناظرين. قال الملأ من قوم فرعون إن هذا لساحر عليم يريد أن يخرجكم فماذا تأمرون؟ قالوا أرجه وأخاه وأرسل في المدائن حاشرين يأتوك بكل ساحر عليم. وجاء السحرة فرعون قال إن لنا لأجرا إن كنا نحن الغالبين قال نعم وإنكم لمن المقربين قالوا يا موسى إما أن تلقي وإما أن نكون نحن الملقين قال ألقوا فلما ألقوا سحروا أعين الناس واسترهبوهم وجاءوا بسحر عليم وأوحينا إلى موسى أن ألق عصاك فإذا هي تلقف ما يأفكون فوقع الحق وبطل ما كانوا يعملون فغلبوا هنالك وانقلبوا صاغرين فألقي السحرة ساجدين قالوا آمنا برب العالمين رب موسى وهارون صدق الله
Much of what we believe in, especially in terms of revelation, in terms of the future of humanity, all these things are based on certain element of unknown and it requires our faith on which we built the expectations in the future of humanity. The belief in the Imam Al-Mahdi alayhi salam is something related to the heart of the revelatory experience of Islam. When we speak about revelation, we are speaking about the source of revelation. And we know quite well that revelation, in the meaning of wahy, in the meaning of something that has been given as a message to be conveyed to the prophets, is an Abrahamic idea. In the Abrahamic traditions, we do read about the prophets. And we do read about the information that the prophets provide for the future of humanity, for the future of the community. In religious studies, we shy away from dealing with issues that are simply a matter of theology. That means we think that these are the issues that need to be treated in theology. People should believe in them, should not question them. We don't usually engage in academic study of religion about issues that are not easily demonstratable in some ways. If we speak about the revelation, we speak about specific book. We say that this is the book that I'm talking about. This is what people believe in. People believe in its being from God, its being from a higher authority. The Prophet ﷺ on many occasions, as part of his prophethood, engaged in informing the people, the community, the early community, and the later community about the events that were going to take place in the future. Not only that, there was something about it connected with human destiny. We, the followers of certain tradition, we, the followers of certain beliefs, we should expect something as part of our own belief system. There will be a day when we will be rewarded. We will be given something that is being promised to us by God's promise. Each tradition in the world religions has its own what we call salvation tradition. How are we going to be saved in the future? Who will save us? In Christianity, it is commonly believed that the second coming of Christ is expected. The parousia, the second coming of Christ, is connected with the spiritual revival of the community, of the Christians. But it also ushers a new escalon, a new period that will come on the earth. In the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we do find something very, very specific. That the Prophet was known as the Prophet of the last days, Nabi Akhirul Zaman. And the meaning was quite clear, that this is the seal of the prophethood. The message of Islam will culminate in such a way that there will be lots of times when the scholars and the thinkers will engage in hermeneutics, in the reformation, in the reappropriation of the tradition, but it won't be necessary for the new tradition to usher the new period. Rather, the same tradition will become purified, will be saved from all kinds of accreditations and increments, and will be brought to its own purity the way the tradition ought to be. Therefore, we do find that one of the future predictions of Islam is that Islam will be contaminated by its own followers. To the extent that if the Prophet were to come, as Allama Iqbal would say, if the Prophet were to come today in the Muslim community, he would not recognize the Islam that he taught from what the Muslims are practicing. This is, by the way, Allama Iqbal's complaint, that Islam has gone through so much transformation that the original Islam has been lost. One of the ideas that is prevalent in Mecca in 7th century is the revivification of religion through the coming back of the seed of the Prophet. Somebody among the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad would come back and would reenact the entire process of revelation and will explain to the community what they did not understand at one point. In other words, there is always a fear in any tradition, by the way, the fear of distortions, the fear of losing the original message and changing it so much that the original message doesn't look original anymore. Also from the seed of David. Why this prophetic connection? I have no understanding of it, by the way. Nor do I understand the philosophy. But I certainly know one thing. There is expectation of the people that somebody like the Prophet would come again to revive the religion, to revitalize the religion. In Islam, this is the person that is known as Al-Mahdi. Al-Mahdi is the divinely guided individual. Now we know through the traditions that are known to the Muslims all over, by the way. It's not only Shia tradition or a Sunni tradition. All of them are saying this Mahdi will be from the seed of Fatima, Salamullah alayha. Not only that, will be from the seed of Hussein ibn Ali. So because Fatima has son Hassan and son Hussein. And yet the traditions are very clear. If you look at Sahih Tirmizi, Sahih Sunan Abi Dawood, these are Sunni compilations of the traditions, they are all art saying this Mahdi, the divinely guided individual, will be from the seed of the Prophet Muhammad himself, through his daughter Fatima, through his grandson Hussein. So you have a connection, what I call genealogical connection, to the tradition of Islam through the Prophet Muhammad himself. I can go into the history, by the way, and I can burden you with the historical development of the whole situation of why did people expect the Mahdi to come. And you will not be surprised to hear me telling you that whenever there was a crisis in the community, and whenever there was some sense of failure in the community, and I'm talking about general Muslim community, then there was always an expectation that someone would come and deliver the community. This is known as Munji, the one who saves the community. Naji, Munji means the one who saves the community. In Islamic history, even during the last days of the Umayyad Caliphate and the early days of Abbasid Caliphate, there was already an expectation that something is going to happen. Now we read about the black flags coming from Iran, from Khorasan, towards Baghdad. Baghdad was not there as yet, towards Kufa. The black flags were part of the predictions that when the Imam comes, when the Mahdi comes, he will be preceded by these black flags coming from the Khorasan, from Al-Mahdi. That means Abbasids also knew quite well that the community is expecting someone to come and deliver them from the rubbish that has been left by the Umayyads. Historical sources are very clear what the Umayyads did and how they messed up the Muslim community. And it was certainly not an ideal period. In other words, there is one thing that the Quran is suggesting quite clearly. If the people believe in their religion and follow their religion, then God will guide them. I started with belief. If you believe in something, if you believe in a vision, if you believe in something to which you are committed, then that belief should carry you to the success. This is, by the way, in the ordinary human life. You and I know it quite well. In our ordinary lives, we need to make a plan. We need to believe in the plan. We need to believe that the plan would lead us one day to the success that I'm looking for in my life. This is also a collective dream, by the way, of the community. The community that believes in certain things. This is what the Quran is trying to say. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ خَيْرُ الْبَرِيَّةِ. Those who believe and do the righteous things, they are promised the best in the future. Let me be quite honest here that when reading the history and the pages of history, you and I understand immediately that the last days of Umayyad period was really a crisis period. It had already started, the decline had already started. Muawiyah came, Yazid ibn Muawiyah came, and second Muawiyah came, then Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, and it continued, and the last person was Marwan, the last caliph. And if you read the history, what you find is that the community lost trust in its leaders. They lost them. The leaders were not concerned about the people at all. They were concerned about themselves. In other words, the Khulafa Banu Umayyah, the caliphs of Banu Umayyah were kings. They lived like kings and they acted like kings. And we all know how the Quran describes when the kings pass through any habitation, they might destroy it, they might take it away completely.
The Quran is testifying it. What we find to be quite amazing is, the Quranic view is that you need to develop a belief that would lead you through the crisis. If you don't build a belief that can take you through the crisis, you will lose hope. Failures bring crises of their own. Collective failures bring collective crises of their own. When the communities go wrong, then the revival can take place only through the revival of what we call charismatic leadership. We all are following the American elections these days. I don't want to take you too far away on the election platform there, but Donald Trump is some kind of a messianic figure for many Americans today. Why are they supporting him in a way? Why are they doing that? When he is telling lies left and right, when he changes his opinion constantly. So there is nothing that would hold the public to the trust that they need to trust the leader, right? We know it and you know it. Just look at the media, what it is doing. And the media today is, is unlike the old days when you would read it after 100 years. You are now reading every minute what's happening. What a change. Therefore, you can't say that we don't believe in this. And the leader can play on the fears of the people. The leader can do so many things to manipulate the beliefs of the people, by the way. That's my point. Banu Umayyah, the Umayyads played upon what we call Arabism. They played on irqiyya, they say ethnocentrism. And they did that. But they were being challenged by the Ahlul Bayt, by the family of the Prophet, that no, we will not let you do that. In fact, one of the Umayyad caliphs, Umar ibn Abdulaziz, understood the message quite clearly from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and he knew that this was the reason why we are being objected by the Alawiyya, by the Ahlul Bayt. That we are somehow limiting the Islamic tradition to the badge of identity to be practiced by Arabs in particular. Arabs, Umayyads saw Islam as the religion for Arabs only. They were not interested. Professor Montgomery Watt has shown in some of the two of his articles on jihad that they never expected non-Arabs to be converted. When the Persians became Muslims, the Umayyads would reduce them to some kind of mawlarship, clientship, that they were our clients. In other words, there was already a sense of injustice happening in the society. Injustice breeds expectation of change. This happens in individual life, happens in the family life, it happens in the national life and international community today. Why are we saying today? So many thinkers are saying that the world is in crisis at the moment. Is the world in crisis? Or human beings are in crisis? And the reason for crisis is the loss of faith, the loss of trust between us and those who exercise authority over us. My thesis then is this. We are going to be here for 3 nights together. And I have promised you that I'm going to take you from history to spirituality to morality. And all of these are connected with one idea of the future coming of the divinely guided ruler by the name of Al-Mahdi. It's very much connected with the whole idea that the Prophet gave. He said, there will be time when people will expect something to happen. And then one of my descendants would come and would change the situation. Just as the Jews did. And when Jesus appeared as a Messiah, they couldn't understand why would be at this time, why not in the future time. So there have been, throughout the history, I wrote a very long article about the Mahdi movements in Islamic history. Different times in India, in Sudan, in some places, right up to the present times, there are people who are expecting the leader to come. What is missing is the cultivation of Iman bil Ghaib. How shall we do that? Any entity that you and I don't see, if you go in Iran and do field work, and I'm telling you, do the field work, that means go and ask people. Go in Iraq and ask the people. Ordinary people, what are they telling you about their belief in the Mahdi? Then you will hear so many different ideas about that. And one link that is missing is that how do I put my trust in something I don't see? Do you understand what I'm saying? How do you trust something? If I told you behind this room there is an army standing to shoot at this building any moment, then you will ask me, where do you get that information from? Naturally. What is your source of information? More than anything is your trust in me, because you know that this man will not tell us lies. There must be an army waiting outside the building to shoot this building. That kind of trust is dependent upon building upon the Iman bil Ghaib. Religion is 90% Iman bil Ghaib. Please keep that in mind. What you do in Ibadat and all the other things, Mu'amalat, is only 10%. How you deal with one another is dependent upon your objectivity and how you are objectively seeing and reacting to the things. But when you don't see anything, most of the ibadat, the niyyah of the ibadat, everything that you do is dependent upon Iman bil Ghaib. If you did not depend, if you did not believe in God's presence, why would you stand? Are you standing in front of the wall? No, you are standing in front of God when you pray. And I think that's what takes you through the journey that you are seeking. What my thesis is built upon this whole idea that unless the Iman bil Ghaib becomes stronger in humanity today, you know, we have lost two senses in modern times. We have lost the sense of sacred. There's nothing anymore, there's nothing sacred today. Sacred has gone. We think that God is in our pockets. The way we talk about God, we don't talk about the presence of the divine. That's not the way we talk about God. We are talking about God as if he is some kind of pious object. We can take him out from our pocket and show it and put him back inside. We don't think he is the one who is actually controlling our total existence. Belief in divine is no more existential. It is only incidental. We use it when it pleases us. We use it when we want it. Otherwise we don't. So I go to the mosque, I pray in front of God, but God is not present there. God is here present. We go to Mecca, we go to Medina, I will tell you one story that you will be surprised to hear. Among the great ulama of the present times, Ayatollah Mar'ashi, who has left one of the most important libraries in Qom. He was the only marja who did not go for Hajj. Did you know that? He was the only marja who did not go for Hajj. They kept on asking me, said, as long as there is poverty around me, I will not go for Hajj. It behooves us to think about the human suffering around us and to say, I'll give the money to treat someone who is ill, then go for Hajj and spend 5,000 pounds for that journey. A rich merchant in Tehran presented Ayatollah Mar'ashi with a gift of money to go for Hajj. At that very time, somebody came and said, there is a woman in the hospital who doesn't have money for the surgery. And the Ayatollah gave his money for that surgery but did not go for Hajj. So you and I think that performance of the rituals are so important, and we are missing out on something quite fundamental to the acceptance of the ibadat, and this is to inculcate in us the presence of the divine. In the Hukumel you say the same thing. You are telling, Ya Allah, you have appointed these two angels who are with me all the time, who are protecting me. And we're also writing down what I am doing. But you and I have lost the sense of these angels sitting on our shoulders, by the way. We tell lies left and right. We're not even worried about these two angels who are recording everything. Yeah? Because we don't see them. So the modern times, what it does, it wants everything to be empirically available to you. Then only you will put a trust. If you are not seeing anyone, then you will not put your trust in. So you don't see God, we don't trust God anymore. We believe that God is trustworthy. Look at the two sentences I'm saying. I believe, I know God is trustworthy. And you and I would say, I believe God is trustworthy. The first is based on existential experience of the divine, trust. The second is based on intellectualization. I believe God is trustworthy. I don't know where is he, but I know he is trustworthy. We have, in other words, we have reached a point whereby the loss of sense of sacred has taken away from us any ability to analyze the situation in which we don't see. This is the second issue in the modern times. Everything should be empirically established. Science says you don't need a tradition. You need to be rational to understand what you are doing in this world. The rationality is then sufficient for us to save us and to ask our ultimate questions. But you and I know that there are ultimate questions that science cannot answer. When you see injustices around yourself, if you were in Iraq during the early days of American invasion, you would have seen the injustices that happened in that part of the world, right? And they still continue to happen. You and I, we can go and look and examine these situations in Mashhad, just near the Haram of Imam Riza. There are poor women living in a home without a ceiling. And we think that, I was surprised that they cut a happy birthday cake for Imam Riza on the birthday of Imam Riza, and they forgot the poor people. They forgot. Would Imam Riza really, does he care for the birthday cake, which was never known in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? These sunnah are our sunnah in the modern sunnahs. In other words, what we are doing is our prioritization is built upon something very different. Trying to engage in self-criticism because my purpose is to take you to the second problem, that unless we see something today, we do not believe in it. What I'm suggesting to you in my thesis tonight is, unless you inculcate the belief that I'm accountable for all that I do to someone, a greater power than the world, you will not understand Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. The belief in Al-Mahdi is part of my personal discipline. I discipline myself knowing that there is a hidden entity, invisible entity, whom I don't see with my eyes. But he's there, guiding me, telling me, informing me. It takes what we call the jump, and such a quantum jump is almost impossible today because we have not trained ourselves. We have ritualized the remembrance of Imam Sahib al-Zaman, by the way. How many times in this last 20 years you heard Allahumma kun li waliyik al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan? How many times you read in the day? 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. Do you really believe that he is your guide? That's what you are saying. Allahumma kulli waliyaka al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan. Then you say, come down and say, Hadiyan, Aynan, make him my guide, make him my eyes. In other words, you are making a statement for which you have not inculcated enough faith in yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? In order to understand Imam Al-Mahdi, the belief in Imam Al-Mahdi, we need to entertain something within ourselves. And without that change, we cannot reach that goal. The goal that you and I are envisioning for our own success in this world is the goal that makes our life worthwhile, both in this world and the next world to come. Because I'm not going to live forever. We all know our friends have gone, our dear friends, our parents, they have died, they have gone away, we have forgotten them. Hence we have no confidence that we can continue to live whatever the longevity, institutions might be doing in California, but we have no such hope today that we can go beyond 100 or 120 or 140 or 150. I don't know how long we'll live. But human beings should know the limit, and the limit should prompt us what I call with the urgency. The sense of limit creates in us the sense of urgency. Isn't it urgent for you and me to decide who is our guide today? You tell me. And I'm not going to jump to the conclusions tonight. No, I will not do that. I have 2 more lectures to go. I'm simply generating for you questions on which I want you to ponder. I will not give you definitive answers tonight at all, but I will indicate what I have in mind. And listen to it very carefully. If you don't put your faith in Imam Sahib al-Zaman himself and shift that faith to someone else, and that someone else happens to be Marja Taqlid or anybody else, then you have missed the point. Then you have missed the point. Then Allahumma kulli waliyaka al-hujjat ibn al-Hasan doesn't make sense. You want to make sense of the dua that you read 5 times a day, or say 10 times a day. And I simply want to draw your attention that, look, you are saying something, يَقُولُونَ بِأَلْسِنَةٍ مَا لَيْسَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. There's nothing in your heart. It's you are saying with your tongues. Hadiyan. He is supposed to be your guide. But no, he's not your guide. Your guide is so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. That's what you have declared. What I'm going to do in the 3 nights is that I'm going to establish a connection between you and the Imam, the way Imam Zainul Abidin has taught us. I'll come to the 3rd night. And I'm going to read that hadith for you. What Imam Zainul Abidin has reported about the Zaman al-Ghaiba, about the time when you and I will be searching for a sincere leader to lead us in our honesty, in our sincerity, to take us on the journey that is supposed to be your and my journey. And that's the journey towards Imam Sahib al-Zaman alayhi salam. Your salawat is very, it gives me an indication you have not fully grasped my point. My point is very clear. You have to remove mediators between Imam Sahib al-Zaman and yourself. There are no mediators between. You have a direct line with Imam Sahib al-Zaman, provided you built in you the sense of spirituality that I am going to teach you. And what's that sense of spirituality? That sense of what we call that meaning of life. You and I are looking for a meaning of life in the period when the meaning has been taken away from us. That meaning does not exist anymore for you and me. We are here to live successfully, to build our homes, to educate our children, and to make them successful, independent individuals. Very good. There's no problem with it. I don't see any problem there. But I say, ما لا يكفي علينا. It's not sufficient for us. Because we have no such guarantee that we can continue to live forever without being tested. How many times it has occurred to you and you have told yourself, I wish there was someone I could trust to ask this question. Has it come to your mind? Then that's the time you are saying, Adrikni ya sahib al-zaman. That's the time you say it. When you need him, and see if he comes or not, if he guides you or not. He might not come in physical sense, by the way, but he guides you. You are looking at the computer, all of a sudden an article comes to your attention. A point made by someone comes to your attention. You're on the Facebook, somebody has said something and it strikes you, my God, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. You don't have a complete answer, by the way. You have indicators, manat. You have indicators. They're telling you this is what you need to do. When you reach that point of your search, then you are getting a step closer to Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Imam Sahib al-Zaman is not going to tell you how to earn your living. He will certainly guide you what is lawful for you to earn. Will indicate to you, will tell you this is not the right way to do it. You will find ordinary people coming and talking to you saying that, no, Muhammad, this is not the way you should be doing. No, Mahdi, that's not the way you should be doing it. Ordinary people, you don't even know that they have been used as mediators. They're telling you this because you needed to know it. I was in the hospital. I'm a chaplain in the hospital, and I was taking care of this person, and the next day that I'm called by the doctors in the hospital, they want to make a decision whether they should start the machines at the end of life decision. This was a very, very critical question for the family. The family was Iraqi. The woman was the only one who was earning the bread for the community, for the family, by the way. And the husband had a stroke, and there was no hope for him. You know how we are in the hospital. We want our beloved one to live as much as one can, help it. And there was indications that this woman was not in a position to help the husband. If she started taking care of him, then she would not be able to earn the living for the children. She was so brave. This woman was so brave. And still in her Iraqi, outfit, she was there in Harrisonburg in Virginia. And we were in the University of Virginia hospital. And the decision had to be made. Look at the tragedy. That she was talking to the family in Najaf. And the family in Najaf was blaming her. That you did not take care of our son, and therefore he became sick. Instead of helping her out, instead of telling her that please, we are with you, don't worry about it. Instead they were blaming her. At that point, the doctors are asking me, what shall we do? What does your tradition say? Should we start the machines? These people are telling me if you start them, you can't turn them off. I'm daring enough to say, no, that's wrong. Any opinion of a scholar is given according to the circumstances in which the scholar is to evaluate the situation. It can't be done. They are poor people. You keep him alive for how long? Who is going to pay the bills? You are interfering in the work of nature. If there were no machines, she would have died long ago. He would have died long ago. Why are you trying to interfere? So that's what we are telling the lady. But the son, there is a son and daughter, they are saying, no, we need to do this. Imagine at that point of a critical moment that you are going to make a decision, and this is your father, whom you love, you respect. You don't want to abandon your father. You don't want to make a decision that would be, haunting you in the future, saying that you made that decision and it was a wrong decision that you made. Wouldn't you like to hear directly from Imam Sahib al-Zaman on this issue? That's my question. Don't ritualize Imam Sahib al-Zaman. He's not a ritual. He's a human being who has been sent for us, been appointed for us to guide us. You and I might not receive that guidance directly. The problem is your and mine, not his. I'm not a saint. Don't get me wrong. I'm a sinner. So don't get me wrong. If I say this, I'm saying this not to please you, not to do anybody, but I'm citing an example. Unfortunately, I felt the example. I say unfortunately because I'm afraid you might ascribe to me something that I'm not. As I tell you very honestly, I'm a sinner, ordinary person. I'm searching like you are searching. I have no better way of understanding than what you understand. It was on the day of Arafat in Karbala that I was pushed. There was so many people, I couldn't believe it. This was the time of Saddam when he was still there, and I was pushed inside. You won't believe that I was pushed in such a way that by the time I stopped inside, I was exactly in front of what we call Balasar, where the Imam's head is. Yes, there used to be in the old days red stone there. They've removed it, by the way. They've removed it. And I was pushed, and I came inside, and I sat down. I found, I don't know, when things are going to work, they work quite well. Who said, come here, come here. So I'm sitting right where I could see the zari of Imam, and I'm sitting there and doing the dua, and while I'm sitting there, all of a sudden, a man in white clothes in Kuwait, that's how I saw him. I saw him as a Kuwaiti. From Kuwait, people dress up like that. And he came and sat next to me and said, "Anurid aqra ma'ak." I want to read the video. I said, "I'm reading Ziyarat Ashura." He said, "Yes, but I also read 100 times whatever I read. I don't cut it short." He said, "Yes, read the way you are reading. I want to read with you." Now, here, the Khoja boy, so to speak, trying to read in Arabic, and the man is an Arab himself. And I told myself, why doesn't he read himself? Because sometimes you want to read yourself. You don't want to read it loud at all. You want to do the ibadah yourself. You don't want to include anyone. But I said, well, he wants him to read out. I am not looking at his face. Believe it. I did not pay attention to him more than anything. He was talking, his kafiyah was hanging like this, it was white, everything was white, and he was telling me, and we are talking in Arabic, and I agreed. I don't know who was he. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know who was he. His identity was not known to me, nor can I say what his identity could be, because that would be the speculation on my part. I'm so glad that we have the tradition says that anybody who claims to have seen the 12th Imam says you are a liar. Don't claim it. You see the dangers? But what I'm suggesting to you is that there are times when you are given indicators and you are speculating on the indicators. How exactly are you going to visualize and realize the dream? And as soon as I come out, by the way, this is the time, Saddam, you were not allowed to read more than salawat, by the way. This was the only thing that was tolerated by them. And I stand there near the pillar, and somebody says, recite for Imam Hussein something. I said, my God, I've been told not to do that because the police will strike you, will take you out. What I'm suggesting, that day's experience, in the living experience of a sinner like me, was something that indicated to me much larger world of spirit than I can relate to you. What I'm suggesting to you is that if we cleansify ourselves, if the inner synergy becomes the fire of love, of longing, then God can reveal on it something that you never expected it to see. I cannot prove anything that what I'm saying, by the way. There's no scientific proof. There's no empirical evidence. Even if I told you, let's say, that on that day in Karbala I met the Imam himself. Khalwat ke bayar bashad. My friend wrote to me a poem saying that, I looked at Hafiz and Hafiz told me this. And when I read the poem, I started crying. I said, I don't even remember this student of mine in the old days, Who is he? Is it not possible that you might receive an indicator and it touches your heart and you say, my God, who has sent me that message? In today's world, it is possible. In today's technology, it is possible to receive a message from an unknown source. You think we are the only ones who use technology and we know the technology? Aren't there higher powers who could do that? I am moving very fast, but I want to come quickly to the conclusion. In order for us to experience, I am talking about experience, I'm not talking about ritualization. By ritualization, you do something repeatedly without realizing that you have done it. Haven't you noticed sometimes you pray Zohar and Asr and then in the evening you come, did I pray? It happens to me sometimes, I start doubting, did I pray? Did I pray today? Did I read the Quran today? Because you have ritualized it. It becomes part of your habit. Whenever religion becomes part of the habit, ritual, then it loses its impact on us. What is Imam Sahib al-Zaman's, what is the belief about Imam Al-Mahdi is to re-inculcate in us the true love and longing for him. Don't you say Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif? May God hasten his coming back. Don't you say it? But you have ritualized it. You don't believe in it, do you? If you believed in it, you will behave much differently. You will not behave in the same way. Knowing that such and such person is going to be here, going to come here, I long him to be here, you will not misbehave. This is my understanding. When I stand for Salat in the middle of the night, again, I'm sorry, but I do want to personalize some of the things here that if I don't personalize, you will not be able to touch it. You are in Salat al-Witr, one rakah that you are reading at the end of the Salat, before the morning time enters. And in the Witr you are talking to God. I'm the one. I'm the one who has sent Ya Allah. I'm the one who needs your help, Ya Allah. I'm the one who is beseeching you to help me out. If you did not believe that, what would that witr do for you? Nothing. Shimr used to do, Allama Amini has in his Kitab Al-Ghadir, he has in one of the volumes, he says that Shimr used to say qunut in which he would say, Allahumma arhamna ya Allah, warhamna ya Allah, anta arhamar rahim. So you're beseeching God to show kindness and you have no ability to show kindness to the fellow human beings? What kind of dua is this? What kind of prayer is this? What I'm trying to push you to is, and this is my challenge, please unstiffen yourselves a bit. Think at the level that I'm trying to push you, and this is the level of experience that you will not be able to deny it. When you get it, you will not live it. I assure you. It's like calling out, on Allah. عَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. It has become part of the ritual. For every salah we do it. And now we have forgotten what does it mean. Now we don't need. Should we say 5 times, 7 times, 3 times, 1 time? How many times? Subhanallah. Insan forgets. You see, good mercy from God that you and I are able to forget. But it is also denial of the blessing if we can't keep those moments in our memory that are very much part of our existential need. We need to keep those. And this is what I have discovered. Just wait for tomorrow, and after tomorrow I'm going to reveal that hadith is, I'm just very impatient. I want to share that hadith with you of Imam Al-Abidin, but I want to wait. I want to take you to the climax. Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. The one who knows himself knows his Lord. I want to say that the one who knows his Iman knows Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Imam Al-Mahdi is accessible to you. In the hadith they say, there will come a time when people will say, oh, he's dead. People will say, he's dead. No, he's not dead. Don't regard him as dead. Allama Hilli would say, don't regard him as dead. He's guiding you. When Muhaqqiq al-Hilli, in his book, in his fatawa, he said, he uses the term Imam al-Mafqud. Mafqud, faqid. Gone. His Shara, the one who wrote the comment, he said, this is not the right term to use. He's not mafqud. Because ghaib simply means he's invisible. He's here, but you and I don't see him, because we have no such capacity in us to see him. What I want to generate in us is the capacity to develop that meaning of Sahib al-Zaman. And I want us to do it with love when we bow down, when we do bow down our head. We want to do it with love and understanding. We want to create in us a deep irfan, deep metaphysical level. Because he's not visible otherwise. I remember as a young person, your age maybe, I'm 74 now. So at your age I used to go in Najaf, and whenever I was a student I would go and look for someone who I would think, does my Imam look like him? Does my Imam look like him? So I used to see Mohsen al-Hakim, Ayatollah Mohsen al-Hakim, and when he used to enter the Haram of Najaf, we were all stunned. He had such light on his face. So I knew this was Ayatollah Hakim. I can't say this is Imam Sahib al-Zaman. But then something came to my mind that if this is the servant of Imam Sahib al-Zaman, how about Imam himself? Can you develop this? When you see good people, they remind you of God. When you see evil people, they remind you of Satan. My God is the greatest Satan on earth. He's doing all the wrong things that they should not be done. But look at when you see someone doing good things, someone feeding the orphans, someone taking care of the people, someone showing the respect and deference to the right people. What would you say about him? Doesn't he remind you of God's mercy? And this is what Maulana meant. To ayin bardar sifat khuda hast. You are the carrier of the divine ascriptions, divine qualifications, qualities in you. When you show mercy, you are showing God's mercy. When you are angry for the right cause, you are showing God's anger, by the way. And when you love someone, you are showing the love of God. When you forgive someone, then you also believe that I am seeking God's forgiveness. Please do that. Always forgive. Always forgive. If you expect God to forgive you, then always forgive. Don't hold it here. No, it doesn't help you. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. I'm sorry, I didn't know my audience. So first night I tried to understand you as much as I'm sure you're trying to understand me. Where is this man coming from, you know? So you will forgive me if I have moved very fast, but I do expect that you will ask me tough questions and tear me apart. Because as a scholar, I'm not immune from your questioning. You have the right to question and not accept whatever I say. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our understanding of taqleed is correct, that we need to know someone's opinion on matters that you and I don't know. It stops there. Doesn't make them divinely people. That's where we are, where we have a problem. You can follow you as a student, you are allowed to do the taqleed. Rationally, you're supposed to do it. Anything you don't know, you'll ask. If you are not a doctor, you'll do the taqleed of a doctor. You will do it. But does it mean that you see them as semi-gods? No. That's what we have done. That's the fear. So you need marja, but don't replace him. Don't, take him in the place of Imam Sahib Zaman. No. Imam is the true marja. Because without that love of Imam, nobody would have taken under. Mujtahids are highly praiseworthy individuals. They take a lot of trouble learning things. But you and I sometimes function as detractors of the marja. The way we kiss them, the way we bow down in front of them. I think we do things that are not appropriate. And I think that that's not the right thing. Then they become arbab. They become, our lords, other than God, who is the only Lord that you and I accept. So be very careful. My understanding is very, I'm honestly putting everything on the plate quite clear, quite clean. That yes, you need to follow a scholar's opinion. And a scholar's opinion is opinion. It's not a hukm. You can't make those opinions infallible. They come from good people. I don't mean to say anything. No, they're good people. They do their homework, they do their research, but they might come to the wrong conclusion. Like you and I can do it also. So we need to be very careful in how we move in our adoration of our scholars. Scholars are human beings. And they are prone to making wrong judgments, they are prone to be megalomaniac, they are prone to be, very egotistic. They are human beings. That you will not find Imam Sahib Zaman. Right? That you will not find in the Mahdi. The way I know our belief, it is going to generate that kind of confidence. Once you do that, all others will look very small in front of him. Yes. Loud, I'm hard to hear. I have earphone here, but...
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question with regards to the perception of us representing or presenting, portraying us Imam Al-Mahdi, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farjah Sharif, sometimes with the way we nurture our children when we say, we want our children to be the soldiers of the Imam. We use the word soldiers. What is your perception? Because instantaneously the child is going to think of the bloodshed, sword, killing, and this is the negative image that we are portraying in our children's minds. How do you feel about that? Using the word soldiers. Do we use the word soldiers, or is there anything else we could use? Thank you.
Every situation, every context demands from us appropriate response to that context. There are certain battles to be fought with our character. There are certain battles where you need arms and armament. There are certain battles in which words can do miracles. So we are now engaged. I'm talking about the project that I'm working on in the University of Kufa at this time, is the project with the youths with the Sunni and the Shia youths and the Christian youths in universities across Iraq. And they've got funding from one of the American agencies to do the work, to train the students to become leaders, and those who can negotiate the space with peace rather than confrontation. So giving them new mechanisms of living together. Now, here I think the context demands that the arms and armaments have not helped in Iraq. They've killed more people. And therefore we need to find different weapons. Many times, you and I think, and I think it's partly because we don't have confidence in what we do. Ordinary beings like you and I, can undertake things that sometimes even the marja cannot do it. And I've seen examples of it. I will not recite them, but I will certainly make you aware that we are all the followers of the religion. We are all the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Therefore, we all have the responsibility. We can't say this is fard al-kifaya. If some do it, we don't have to do it. No, I think there are issues that are really confronting all of us. So, yes, we need the soldiers, we need the peacemakers, we need scholars, we need everyone. But to put all the eggs in one basket, like you and I are very much used to think only of fiqh as the main, source of our information. On the other hand, we abandon the Quran. Ayatollah Khoury was correct that these days in the Hausa they don't read the Quran. They read the Hadiths. And I think that the complaint is well taken. That we have abandoned the Quran. We don't read the Quran as we should be reading the Quran. Yeah, we read Surah Yasin, we read Surah, I don't know, Surah 5, Surah, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about ritual recitation. I'm talking about thoughtful recitation of the Book of God. We have abandoned. So I think we need to catch up. There are so many levels of reform that we should be talking about. Yes, please. Yeah, the loss of sacredness is connected with the way we are handling religion as a commodity. Anything that is commodified becomes valued in terms of its benefits and losses. And that's not the way religion ought to be. Religion is sacred, its teachings are sacred, and they remain operative and functional in our lives. The way we perceive of them, the way we see of them, what we have lost, modern men and women have lost, is the sense of meaning that religion provides. You and I get satisfied with very little in religion. And therefore I think we need to strive even more to understand the depth of the religion. Well, you and I don't even talk about taqwa anymore. Whereas taqwa is the main force of religion. The spiritual and moral understanding of our life is the source of happiness for us and for others around us. But we don't talk, this is what I mean by sacred meaning. That sacred sense has been lost. You should see in biblical studies, in universities today we teach religion. So religion has become one of the subjects of the university. All right. That's okay. I don't mean to say it should not become a subject. What I mean to say is that many times in academic approach, we lose the sense of sacredness of the tradition itself. So I have that problem, by the way, when I teach a religion in university. It doesn't have the same kind of impact that, let's say, when I talk about it here in your presence, because you are committed in faith to a particular tradition. That you don't do in the universities, and more and more universities are drawing students in religious studies. More and more students are studying religion out of search, out of quest for what they want to find. But it is something that has taken away. So we discuss the Quran, we discuss the Bible, we discuss the Torah as if it is another book that you and I should be reading. Whereas when I read the Quran, I feel that these are the words that came from my Prophet's mouth. I am repeating them. This gives me a sense of sacred, of the meaning that I'm trying to derive from the Quran, the way I read the Quran. You see the two ways of reading it? So sacred, we have lost that meaning today because of its availability. Everything is more available, everything is more accessible today. You know how many times people 50 years ago, 20, 30 years ago could not go to ziyarat or umrah so easily. Nowadays, look at the number of the people that are going for ziyarat and for umrah. It's amazing. It's become so easy. In the old days, we used to say, "Mane tirwa which I have been called by the Imam to go." And nowadays, we all are, Tom, Dick and Harry, everybody goes, So it has become that kind of, situation in the community that I do worry about. I do worry about. Yes, Ali Reza.
In light of your emphasis on the direct cultivation of the presence of God in everything that we do, and also your recent, just the previous remark about taqwa, is the notion of a living 12th Imam an obstacle to that? So can, as opposed to the Sunni concept of the Mahdi, okay, which you referred to, who hasn't been born, okay, does the sense of a born 12th Imam act as an intermediary before God, which can be an obstacle towards that direct communion you've been talking about? Could you please elaborate on that possible tension?
It's a huge topic of another lecture, but I'll be brief in what I'm saying. The issue is in front of us as a living Imam. And if we do not inculcate in us that kind of understanding honestly, then we should not even talk about the Imam. I am afraid of hypocrisy. I'm very much afraid of it. That I may be saying something from my lips, from my mouth, while it is not being believed by me inside. That will be very far more dangerous. I would rather be sincere and make it quite clear that I don't think I really have come to a decision of his existence, of his being living Imam. I hope one day God will clarify it for me. I can stop there. I was invited in Tehran by the Academy of Philosophy. Academy of Practical Philosophy. And it was one of the very ugly encounter that I had in Tehran. people who are, were wearing beards and were claiming to be religious, and you won't believe the way they started the conversation with me. How can you, as an intellectual, believe in the existence of the Imam? That's how they confronted me. They said, how can you believe? It's impossible for you. You're a rational person. How can you believe in something? Then I turned around and said, well, how can you believe in God whom you have not seen, and you say that we are believers in God? It's the concept. There's no difference between, because one is ghaib, this one is also ghaib. In other words, there are many, many, many followers of the Ahlul Bayt school who do not believe. I want to assure you, not everyone believes. Go and do the field work in the Jamaat, our small Jamaat, and you will ask them a tough question. How do you believe this is that you have come to the conclusion about the existence of the 12th Imam? They will not be able to answer that question. I assure you there is no way that they could tell you honestly. Everybody says, my father says, my mother says, my mullah says, my maulana says, therefore I believe. So we always put it on someone else. What I'm pushing you to do is that ask yourself, and in all sincerity, I believe that even if you were to deny God's existence in all sincerity, God is most forgiving. He would forgive you as long as you are sincere in your search. About the 12th Imam also, I believe the same way, that you've done your research, you've read everything. There's so many books about the Imam. There's so many books about the Imam. Hundreds of books about Imam. Some are talking about it. Among the Sunni scholars, there are hundreds of books about the 12th Imam. About the Mahdi among them. Because they don't believe he's born, that he will be born in future. Makes no difference. Ultimately, you are worrying about the future of the community. Who is going to revive this community? You might believe there's already there. He might come in the future. And both of them, make sense to some people who think like that. Even those who say he can come in the future. Why does God have to send him now? Bring him in this world now. God will decide in the future when he wants to bring him in this world. Well, it logically doesn't sound to be inconsistent. It's quite consistent. In other words, there are ways in which you negotiate your space with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as you are honest, sincere, then even if you were to make a mistake, you will be forgiven for that. That's the assurance that we get from the Quran. God is forgiving. If we were not to forgive, we would have been disappeared long ago. We would have disappeared long ago. Thank you very much for your attention. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow night, yes? Inshallah.
Thank you very much, Professor, for taking those questions. I know Jamaat Namaz is in 10 minutes, so if you want to stick around for that, you're more than welcome to do so. Can you all please